Wait. Don't put your roll numbers. Now you. Okay. Good morning, all. Now you can put your roll numbers. Okay. Now in today's session, we are going to discuss the remaining part of our this fifth chapter. That is compression molding, design of compression mold and transfer mold. In this, we are going to discuss the mold heating and venting. How the heating is done for the how the mold heating is done by using the various mediums in case of compression molding and in case of transfer molding, and why we are providing the venting and what is the means main objective of providing the venting, and related to how it is provided. Okay, it's related to its dimensions. Okay, and after that, the final part will be design of compression mold. Already I have conducted the practical session. Just I will take the review of that. Okay, just I will take the review. Okay, I will take one problem, and I will first repeat the theory, and I will repeat that problem also. Okay, first we will move towards this mold heating. Okay, this is a very important aspect as far as this mm, transfer molding and compression molding is concerned. Now, a uniform mold temperature. Okay, it is a very necessary factor. Mold temperature should be uniform throughout. Okay, now the maximum difference between, now here already we know that mold consists of two parts, upper half and lower half. Then maximum permissible difference, okay, between the temperature of upper half of the mold and lower half of the mold is 3 degrees Celsius. Variation in the temperature of upper half and lower half, it should not exceed, means these are some standard parameters, but depending on our medium used for doing the heating of that mold, it may vary. Okay, depending of the medium used. Okay, but we have to try to maintain the temperature throughout the mold in the upper half and lower half. It should be uniform throughout, and we will try to reduce the difference up to 3 degrees Celsius. Okay, now for doing the heating, okay, for doing the heating, these are the heating sources, these rounded spots you can identify here. These are nothing but the heating sources. With help of these slots, we are going to provide the heat. And to provide or to do the mold heating, we are going to use different mediums. Normally, we are using three different mediums. We are using oil, steam, and sometimes we are going for or maximum nowadays we are going for the electrical cartridge heating. Okay, with the help of electrical mediums, we are doing this mold heating. Sorry. Okay, sorry for disturbance. Now here I have mentioned some dimensions. This is a location of the thermocouple. Okay, location of the thermocouple, or a distance between the thermocouples or whichever heaters, it should be placed at the optimum location. Okay, optimum location it should be placed. Why the placement or a location is a very important aspect here. Suppose uh, if thermocouple is placed very close to each other, then what will happen if thermocouple is at a very closer distance? Then it will result in the turn off. Okay, automatically it will turn off heating process will takes place. And if suppose these thermocouples are very far from each other or at a longer distance from each other, then what will happen? It will result in the core heating, means a specific spot will get heated. Instead of providing the uniform heating throughout the mold, it will result in the core heating. So this care you have to take, that distance of these thermocouples should be within this specified range, and you have to avoid the longer distances as well as you have to avoid the closer distances, because closer distance will result in the turn off of that heating process, and longer distances will result in the core heating. Okay, only a specified spot will get the more amount of heat. Okay, that is termed as the core heating. To avoid this, the optimum distance is provided. Okay, optimum distance between the heaters or thermocouples is provided, and that distance is mentioned in the diagram. I think it is, this diagram is a little bit blur. I will mention that point, that is the optimum distance. It is in the range 1.25 inch to 1.5 inch. Okay, this will be the optimum distance between the uh, two thermocouples. Okay, heating distance. Okay, and now and after that, already we have discussed that uniform heating is very necessary. Then whenever we are electrical heat, now whenever we are using the oil or steam, then the suppose we measure the difference between any two parts. Okay, we have measured the difference in the upper half of the mold and some other location of the mold. Then that difference will be in the range 3 degrees Celsius when we are using the oil or steam medium. And when we are using the electrical cartridge heating, then if you take any measurement from, if you identified any two spots, and if you take the their temperature difference, then it should be up to 6 degrees Celsius. Okay, variation is more when you are using the electrical cartridge heating. Okay, and whenever you are using oil or steam medium, then this variation is very less. Okay, so this point you have to take into consideration, that with the help of oil and steam medium, maintaining the uniform temperature throughout the mold, it is easy as compared to the when you are using the electrical cartridge heating, it is very difficult to maintain the uniform temperature throughout the mold. Okay, it may be in the upper half of the mold, it may be in the lower half of the mold. It is a little bit difficult to maintain the temperature, that uniform temperature. Okay, and the distance, related to the distance, you have to follow this dimensions rules. Okay, these are the guidelines that these thermocouples which we are using, it should not be too close to each other, or it should not be at a very longer distance. Longer distance will be result in the core heating, and shorter distance will result in the turn off. Okay, the ideal distance you have to maintain in this range 1.25 inch to 1.5 inches. This is related to the mold heating in case of compression mold and in case of transfer mold. Okay, so these are some uh, points related to the mold heating. The next point is the venting. Okay, mold vents or mold venting. Okay, in this diagram, you can see the vent provided here. Now, what is the function of this vents that we will discuss? First, I will tell you the purpose, and after that, we will discuss related to the dimensions. Okay. Now, during the process of this compression molding or transfer molding, gases will be formed. Okay, due to some chemical reaction may occur due to the high amount of pressure and that the plastic material. Some chemical reaction may occur, and some gases will be formed, and that gases will get trapped. Okay, that gases will get trapped in the mold cavity, and it may get carried as a gas pockets in the our final product. Okay, it will result in the reduced strength of the final product. Okay, and to release these gases, vents should be provided. Okay, so this is the purpose of providing the mold vents or mold venting. I will repeat it. Whenever we are doing the molding process, it may be compression molding process or transfer molding process. We are applying the pressure as well as heat on the plastic material or our preform or charge. Then due to the high amount of pressure and due to higher temperature ranges, what will happen? When chemical reaction may occur, some gases will take place. And any vents, then that gases will get trapped as the gas pockets in your final product, and it will reduce the strength of our product, and during the service it may get failed. Okay, or it may get braked or failed. To avoid this formation of the gas pockets and the defects in the our final product, you have to release these gases by providing the vent. Okay, it will be, these vents are termed as the mold vents or mold venting, you can say that. Okay, these mold vents are nothing but the openings, okay, that you have to provide. These are nothing but the small openings provided. Okay, you can provide different types of the vents. Okay, it may be is grooved type or flat type. Okay, two types are there: flat vents or grooved vents. Okay, generally these are present on the plunger. Okay, whichever plunger or punch you are using for applying the pressure, on that it is present, and so that you will get whichever gases are forming, they may get released. Okay, they may get released. Okay, this is the location here on this spot. Generally, it is provided on the punch itself. Okay, so you can draw the diagram, and then you have to, while providing the vents, you have to take care that all vents, whichever vents you are providing, uh, that should open to the atmosphere. Okay, now after that, some guidelines are there, means which are preferred. What is the preferred location where it should be, that vent should be provided? Related to that, I will explain. But first, please draw this diagram. Please draw the diagram. Okay, now there are general guidelines are there. Now, what will be the preferred location? Now, generally, these vents are provided on the movable half of the mold. Okay, in the movable half only plunger is there, and on that location you have to provide the vents, and these vents should be open to the atmosphere. That care you have to take, and whichever related to the depth, its depth vent depth, it should be 0.13 millimeter. Then the clearance. Okay, there you have to provide some clearance, and that clearance will be in the range 0.25 millimeter. Okay, 0.25 millimeter, that clearance you have to provide. Then related to the vent land dimensions, okay, vent land, it should be in the range 0.15 to 0.30 inch. Okay, these dimensions are in the inch. Okay, I will repeat this part. Generally, the preferred location is of these vents is in the upper half of, upper half, you can say that, or movable half of the mold. Then the vent depth is 0.030 millimeter. Then related to its clearance, okay, vent clearance, it should be in the range 0.25 millimeter. And related to the vent land, okay, this distance, this horizontal distance, this is the vent land, it should be in the range 0.15 to 0.30 inch. And it is recommended that whichever mold, suppose you have provided some depth, okay, 0.013 0.013 millimeter, then throughout that length it should be polished. Okay, throughout that length it should be polished. Recommendations related to the mold venting. Okay, so these are general guidelines related to the mold venting. After this, already we have completed that part, and that is the design of the compression mold, and one numerical related to that. I will repeat that part. Just I will take the review in the 15-20 minutes, and after that this chapter will get completed. Wait, I will share another presentation. Okay, now these are some design guidelines related to the design of compression mold. This I will take a review, and I will solve the problem. After that, this chapter will get finished. Okay, so factor in this formula should be bulk factor. Okay, the first parameter is the bulk factor or volume of the loose plastic powder and the volume of the molding. Okay, bulk factor is volume of loose plastic powder to the volume of the molding. It is the K. Okay, and then design of the land distance, this horizontal distance between the actual cavity and this vertical wall of the mold. This horizontal distance is termed as the land, and generally these land dimensions are within this range only. Okay, for small sized molding it is 4 to 9 millimeter, and for larger sized molding it is 9 to 16 millimeter. Then design of the loading chamber. Okay, so this is the design of the loading chamber. Chamber is added with the flare. Okay, this is the flare, or in short, you can say that slight taper or slight angle is there, and generally it is in the range 1 by 3 degree to 1 degree flare is provided, and this flare should start by leaving a distance of 4 to 6 millimeter from the bottom. Okay, whichever depth is there of this chamber, loading chamber, uh, leaving the 4 to 6 millimeter distance from the bottom. After that, this flare will start. This flare is generally 1 by 3 to 1 degree, and at the top, it should, some corner is provided, or it is rounded off by providing the radius in the range 2 to 5 millimeter. So these are the design guidelines related to the loading chamber. Then after the loading chamber, you have to calculate the depth here. Okay, depth of that loading chamber. To calculate the depth of the loading chamber, this formula you have to use. This is the VT is the volume of the loose plastic powder, and this is the volume of the cavity. Actual cavity is volume you have to consider here, and you have to divide it by the projected area. Now, how to calculate this projected area, or what is the projected area? So this which portion I have highlighted here in this diagram by the inclined lines. This is the nothing but our projected area. Okay, the projected area is nothing but when the total area of the molding when viewed in the direction of the molding. Okay, or in other words, a plane perpendicular to the press opening. A plane perpendicular to the press opening will be termed as the projected area. Here, this portion highlighted by the inclined line is nothing but our projected area. Okay, this is calculated by taking total rectangular area, this rectangle area, outside rectangle area, and subtracting this inside a rectangle portion. We will get our total projected area. For different components, different formulas you have to use. Okay, then after calculating this total projected area, the next parameter here is the flash thickness. Okay, the excess material during the pressing process, excess material will flow out from this cavity and forms a thin layer over the land portion. Okay, which land portion? This is the land portion, horizontal distance from actual cavity to the vertical wall of the mold. Here, a thin film will be formed. Excess material will flows out, and a thin layer will be formed. And this is nothing but the flash. Okay, and this flash thickness you have to determine here, or generally it is assumed within this specified range. And then next is the clamping force. So this is the clamping force here. The force which is what is the meaning of this clamping force? Force which is required to keep both half of the mold together or in the closed position. Okay, against the compression pressure, that will be termed as the clamping force, and it is calculated based on that compression pressure and projected area. Okay, with the help of this formula. Then compression pressure it depends on the material. Now generally we are using phenolic or urea materials. Okay, just you have to remember this difference here. For phenolic material, the compression pressure is in this range 158 kg per centimeter square to 211 kg per centimeter square. And for urea or melamine material, it is in this range 79 to 105.5. Okay, sometimes it may be 105 or 110. Okay, this is the range. I have asked some MCQ questions on this only. Okay, compression pressure values for phenolic material is in this range. Then for urea and melamine material, I have asked the pressure values. Okay, this you have to remember while solving the objectives questions. Then after this, the design of ejector pin and design of punch. These two are the last parameters in the design of compression mold. Now here the diameter of ejector pin and length of ejector pin you have to determine. The diameter of ejector pin is equal to the wall thickness of the part. Whichever wall thickness is there, that will be the diameter of the ejector pin. And length of the ejector pin will be calculated with the help of these three points. That is L1, L2, and L3. You have to take the addition. This L1 is nothing but the length in contact with the mold plate. It is nothing but the 5 times the diameter of ejector pin. That is nothing but 5 times the minimum wall thickness of the part. Then ejector stroke, and L3 is nothing but the small allowance of 5 millimeter. Then after this, the last point is design of the punch. Depending on the this design of the punch, depends on the means depth and thickness, whichever is required there, depending on your numerical consideration. These points you can mention X, Y, Z. Here I have just taken written from the numerical itself. You can depending on your actual numerical, it will vary, and we will take this numerical. Please draw this diagram. I will wait for 1 minute, and after that we will discuss the different points in the design of compression mold. Okay, this is the numerical provided. You have to design a compression mold for the machine component shown in this diagram. Okay, and here material used is phenol formaldehyde. They have provided the compression pressure, bulk factor, and density of the material. And our first parameter here is find out the volume of the loose plastic powder. Now, as the bulk factor value is provided, we have to calculate the volume of the loose plastic powder. It will be equal to this formula you have to use. Now, why this 1.2 is taken here? We have considered the flash allowance. Okay, some extra material will flows out during that compression process or pressing operation. For that, 20% flash allowance is considered, and 1.2 K into VP. This is VP is nothing but the volume of the part or volume of the molding. Okay. Now, on this to calculate this VP, this total this volume is considered. Okay, this part, this portion, then this portion, this portion, and this portion. Just and as here it is in a rectangular shape, you have to take the into length into width into height. Okay, with help of that, it is calculated for each rectangular surface, and it will come 56 centimeter cube. And by considering 20% flash allowance, volume of loose plastic powder is 1.2 K into volume of the molding or volume of the part, and this volume of loose plastic powder is 201.6 centimeter cube. As it is more, if generally it is considered whenever volume of this loose plastic powder is more than 150 or 200, then we have to consider it as a large sized component, and depending on that, the dimensions of land are provided here in the range 9 to 16 millimeter. Okay, in this range any dimension can be assumed, and here we can take L is equal to 12. Within this range you can consider any value. Someone can assume 10, someone can assume 14 or 15. Okay, here I have just taken assumed, this is the assumed value depending on the volume of the loose plastic powder. Okay, then after this the calculation of the projected area is taken. Now this projected area is nothing but area which can be viewed in a direction perpendicular to the press opening. Okay, this is the press opening direction. Okay, this is the press opening direction, perpendicular, this is the perpendicular to it, and this area. Okay, or in short, when you seen it from the top, whichever area is there, this area, this is the projected area. Okay, for this press, this is the projected area. Okay, and this will be 10 into this 2. This rectangular portion is the projected area. This is 20 centimeters square. Okay, please draw this diagram because it is very necessary. Please highlight that portion. Okay, and please draw this diagram because it will help you to calculate the projected area also, and to calculate the total volume of the cavity. Total volume of the cavity means you have to consider from this corner, this portion. Okay, this total portion you have to consider in calculating the volume of the cavity. And this is the projected area, and this total portion you have to consider in calculation of volume of the cavity. So in the next stage, it is to calculate the depth of the loading chamber. It is calculated by taking the ratio, that is the difference of volume of loose plastic powder to the volume of cavity to the projected area. This is the formula: volume of loose plastic powder minus volume of the cavity to the projected area. Projected area and volume of loose plastic powder we have calculated. Just we have to calculate the volume of the actual cavity. Okay, this is the volume of the actual cavity you have to calculate. Okay, this rectangular portion you have to consider here, and 2 times it will be repeated, and then this central rectangular portion. Okay, it will come 156. And the flash thickness, after this, after determining the depth of loading chamber, okay, it is coming here 2.28 centimeter. Then flash thickness, it is generally considered in the range 0.1 to 0.25 millimeter. Okay, this is the range. Okay, in this range you can assume any value here, and if suppose sometimes they may directly mention in the numerical itself, then you have to take the mention value. Generally it is assumed in this range 0.1 to 0.25 millimeter. The thickness of the layer formed, whichever excess material will flow out and it will acquire the land portion, that will be termed as this flash. Then the clamping force is calculated. What is the clamping force required to hold the both half of the mold in the closed position against the that compression pressure? Okay, that will be termed as clamping force, and it is calculated by using the values compression pressure and projected area. Just you have to take the multiplication. The material compression pressure is value is given used in this numerical is 180, and if it is not mentioned, depending on the material you can assume it. I have mentioned the range there also. For phenolic material, you have to assume it in the just below the 200, and for the urea and for formaldehyde material you can assume it in the range 79 to 105. Then by considering that given value 180, and we have calculated the projected area, this is our final value. the clamping force. Then after this, we have to design the ejector pin. Okay. Here, diameter of the ejector pin is considered as equal to the wall thickness. Okay. Wall thickness, from where we are getting this wall thickness, we will refer the diagram. Okay, this is the thickness of this part. This is nothing but the wall thickness, 1 centimeter. 1 centimeter we have considered. That will be the end of the pin. Now, length of the ejector pin is equal to L1 plus L2 plus L3. Okay, L3 is nothing but the allowance. Okay, just it is a allowance, that is the constant value. Then there is the length of stroke. That length of stroke will be from this top surface. Okay, from this surface to the bottom of that cavity. Here we have to consider cavity. 1 centimeter plus this 7 centimeter, it will be 8 centimeter is the ejector stroke, and the L1 value is 5 times the diameter, and that diameter is nothing but the wall thickness. Okay, then addition you have to take 5 plus 8, which is 5 millimeter, that you have to convert into centimeter, and the length of the ejector pin is 13.5 in this case. Okay, and after this, these are the dimensions of the punch. Okay, this is the depth 6 centimeter. This say that thickness of this punch 8. This is the 8 and this is 6. Where it is on the diagram. Okay, this is okay, from this surface to this, it is 6, and this is 8. In this way, design of punch is design of punch, design dimension punch. So in this way, we have this part design of the compression mold. Okay. Now, so in this way, we have completed this part. The one last point is that is the design considerations related to ejector pins. Okay. Ejector pins are there. Some design guidelines are for that. I will refer one and I will make that point. Okay. I will check which diagram is related. Okay. So with the help of this diagram, I will explain you some points related to the ejector pin design. Okay, ejector pin. Now, without ejector pins, is the ejector pins already here. These are the ejector pins in both cases, in compression molding and transfer molding also. We are using the ejector pins. Here, these are the ejector or knockout pins, and related some design guidelines are there. Okay, these are the ejector pins. Now, without these ejector pins, it is not possible to remove the final molded part from the cavity or that mold. Okay, sorry, from that mold. Whichever final part is manufactured with the help of that cavity, we will not be able to remove it from that mold without this ejector pins. So this is the very important function, is to remove the manufactured part or molded part from this mold safely and without any distortion or damage. We require these ejector pins. Okay. Now, Another function, this is the first function, that is removing the molded part from the mold safely, securely, without distorting or without damaging. And another is these ejector pins will help in providing the vents also. Okay, these will help in the providing the venting required. These are two important functions. Now, how the attachment is done here in this case on this flat surface. Generally, these ejector pins are present on the flat surface only. Okay, this is the flat surface. On that flat surface only, these are present. Okay, so these parts you have to take into consideration, and these are attached on the flat surface of that molded part, so that easily you can remove it. This is the molded part. On the flat surface you are going to attach it. Okay, so these points you have to take into consideration while using this ejector pins and their positioning. So in this way we have completed this chapter, that is design of transfer mold and compression mold. In this we have studied design and main parts of the compression mold. Okay, then the design of loading chamber, then standard insert mold body. This we have seen, that is how the inserts are provided. This is similar to the inserts used in the design of the plastic part. That same point you can use here. Then design of different parts like ejector pins, punch, that we have discussed. Then the transfer mold design, then its parts, then the type of the transfer molding process, and how the automation is used in the transfer molding process. And one numerical also we have solved, and that same numerical we have solved two times in the practical session also, and in this theoretical session also I have taken the review. In this way, this fifth chapter is completed. And I have shared the quiz now 2 days before. Please solve that quiz. Okay, within 2 or 3 days, please solve it. And now I will stop the session here. From next lecture, we will start our next chapter. Okay, first I will complete the seventh and eighth chapter, and then I will move towards the sixth. Okay, because on that sixth chapter, one practical I have already taken. First practical related to the injection molding process, basic fundamentals, that I have already, half chapter is completed. That's why I will take it at the end. First, I will complete the seventh chapter and eighth chapter, and after that, I will take the remaining portion of that sixth chapter. Okay, this in this way, 5 chapters are totally completed. Please solve that fifth test which I have shared. Please solve it, and from next session or in the next week, seventh and eighth chapter will be completed. Very short chapters are there. It will take 2 or 3 hours each. Okay, for as far as this chapter is concerned, this is we have completed this chapter, design of compression mold and transfer mold. I will stop here. You can leave this session.